right. So we actually got this message this week. I know we discussed this also via text messages.
Oh, yes.
But this is where I got the idea from Comic Book Click. It says, how about some Robin talk on Weekly Planet Pod? Hashtag Weekly Planet Pod this week in celebration of the 80th anniversary of the boy wonder Dick Grayson. Do you have a favourite Robin or Robin portrayal? Is it John Blake Robin?
Oh, boy.
No.
I was just thinking about John Blake Robin.
We'll talk about John Blake Robin. So we're going to do a bit of the history, some of our faves. We've done some research. We've got some notes. We'll do a deep dive.
Yes.
Maybe I'll turn this into a video. Maybe I won't. I don't know.
Goodness.
Yeah. So, yeah, so Robin was introduced in the 40s.
1940, yeah.
That's right, Detective Comics 38. What do you know about the introduction of Robin and why and who and how?
Well, first of all, I wanted to point out that, a lot of people are like, oh my God, Robin. It's a little bit, Batman's a grim, dark Avenger of the night. And, we just put Robin on at the end. It's bloody, it's hardly appropriate in the Batman mythos. But when you think of Batman's 80th anniversary was like the other day.
Yes.
And Robin's 80th anniversary is now.
Yeah.
He's been around as long as Batman for all intents and purposes.
That's exactly right.
The idea of, well, this is inappropriate because he's too colourful. And Batman's all about grim and gritty. Batman,
for so many eras, and it goes in and out, is also really dumb and broad and colourful. So, and also not every version of Robin is that either.
That's true.
Yeah, Robin evolves with Batman. You don't have a grim, dark, gritty Batman and then Robin's like, woohoo! Except for like the Lego Batman movie, of course, but that's kind of the idea. So Bill Finger, creator, Jerry Robinson and Bob Kane, I guess, was involved to some degree. Who knows to what
For people
extent.
who don't know, Bob Kane, for literally decades, was listed as the creator
Sole
of Batman. Sole creator of Batman, but in retrospect, a lot of the actual work of the creation of the Batman mythos was anyone other than him, basically.
Yes, that's right. His idea of Batman was, we've talked about this, but stiff, big bat wings, domino mask, blonde hair.
Yeah.
What are we even talking about? He didn't look anything like what he looks like now.
Correct.
At all. So, I don't even know. But so Dick Grayson's, the idea was to bring in, like, kids, right?
Well, yeah, actually something I learned this week. The origin of the word sidekick.
Yeah.
So it's late 19th century, early 20th century pickpocket slang.
Really?
Your sidekicks are your front side pockets here.
Yeah, right.
And because they're your most secure pockets.
Yeah.
And so your sidekick is like your closest compadre.
You're keeping them away.
Well, see, I don't know what because surely you keep maybe it's keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer kind of vibe. But anyway, your sidekick is your closest guy.
Yeah, right.
But Robin is kind of the first superhero sidekick, but he's not like the first sidekick in fiction.
No.
So I think the Bob Kane always maintained that the reason he brought in a Robin was because he wanted his Sherlock Holmes to have a Watson.
Yes. But there's different versions, right? Because some people have said he's inspired by like Robin Hood, like with the little outfit, or he's supposed to be inspired by the bird Robin. They've all got different interpretations.
Look, I think it's
who's lying is what I'm saying.
They're all lying. They all got together and decided to lie to us together. I think it's partly, I think it's partly the Holmes and Watson situation because you need a kind of a younger, dumber character.
Yeah.
Not that Watson is dumber, but he's portrayed as dumber in a lot of versions of Sherlock Holmes. But you need somebody to explain things to, because a man talking to himself ad nauseum for 30 pages every month is
or even just thinking, even just thought bubbles.
Exactly. Yeah. You need that, and also I think what's not relatable to kids is like a billionaire playboy so much.
The most relatable thing in the world.
Right.
People love an Elon Musk.
That's
People
true.
love that Amazon prick. People love all these guys, don't they?
They sure do. You know why? Because of all their charity work.
That's right.
Their incredible charity work. They're just constantly saving the day,
So the death of Robin's parents, the first Robin, we're going to go through a bunch, but Dick Grayson's obviously the most well-known. So it was always the circus act thing, right?
Yeah, he's the gold standard. If you've seen the 60s TV series,
I have.
If you've seen Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, that's Dick Grayson.
Yep.
If you've seen the first many seasons of the animated series, that's Dick Grayson.
Exactly, yeah.
So he was the son of circus acrobats.
The Flying Graysons.
The Flying Graysons. And the circus owed money to a mob boss, and so to threaten the circus, because you're always constantly threatening a circus.
I'm never not threatening a circus. I got 4 or 5 circuses on the go at once.
Oh, yeah, you got them on speed dial.
That's right.
Ringling Brothers, I give you a bloody ringling. Here we go. Stop using elephants, it's cruel.
Yeah. Nobody wants this.
Click. Anyway, so they cut the high wire, and the Grayson parents are killed, leaving only Dick Grayson.
Sometimes it's the Joker though, depending on.
Oh yes,
the
that's
version.
probably true. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's that in the Chris O'Donnell version is that though, isn't it?
Was it the Joker?
No, it's the original one.
Yes,
it's not the Joker thing.
Yeah.
But which version
and
is
then
the Joker?
Batman's like, you know what, I should make this 12-year-old boy my ward and have him,
teach him to kick
send
the
him
shit
out there and
people.
him out there and fight crime.
Is he the only person in the world that can do a triple somersault from standing still? Because he's the most acrobatic of the Robins, right?
Yes,
I believe that's the case.
He's the world's greatest acrobat
without being
in the DC Comics universe.
Without being enhanced, because some of the Robins are enhanced depending if one's a robot. We'll get to it, but they're all kind of known for a particular thing, and that's his thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is he your favorite?
No. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Well, we should also talk about his introduction to Batman 66 as well. Wasn't that the same kind of idea as well? That he's got someone to talk to, but also they introduced like an old woman that they lived with, so
Aunt Harriet.
People didn't think they were gay.
Sure.
So they just bring in an old woman. Yeah, that's going to fix that problem that also doesn't exist in the show.
You could have brought in girlfriends.
Yeah,
that would probably help better. But I guess the idea was that Aunt Harriet was sort of like
she's keeping it apart.
I guess so. But she's also kind of like she's always looking around corners, like making sure they're not up to anything. Because if anything, if anything, an interfering old woman would get. If she thought anything untoward was going on, she'd hit him with a rolling pin or whatever.
That's so true, yeah.
Right?
And call the police, obviously, because
right.
that was the era for it. Yeah, but Robin, before he became Nightwing, he was leader of the Teen Titans, right? Was that in the 80s?
That was the 80s.
Yeah, so who was in that? Starfire?
Yes.
Beast Boy?
Yes.
Some other fucking, I don't know. That's all. I've never read any of it, I don't think. Yeah. That's pretty good though, right?
Look, you've got so much time. You should either read or watch the animated adaptation.
I do want to watch Teen
Contract.
Titans Go as well, which is apparently incredible. Yeah,
yeah,
I just haven't got around to that yet. Yeah. So are you a fan of the Teen Titans then, or that particular early version? Or?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I don't know how well it's aged. I haven't read any since maybe the 90s.
Is Batman letting him do this, or is he just doing it on the side?
He's letting him do it, yeah.
Okay, cool, yeah. Because they do have a falling out, obviously. Where he becomes Nightwing, which I think is the best version of Dick Grayson there is.
Well, he's got those sticks.
He's got those sticks, which is great. But if he puts on a different costume, you better put those sticks away, young man.
That's right.
Yeah. But also, he's a secret agent at some point. That was a more recent thing.
I mean, Dick Grayson's gone through... Dick Grayson's gone through any number of changes. He's taken the role of Batman from time to time. Recently, he changed his name to Rick Grayson.
So cool.
He lost his memory and became Rick Grayson.
So he knew some of the things that he was.
Apparently, near to all of the things that he knew.
It's a bloodshot situation, isn't it?
Right?
Did he get bloodshotted?
No, he's just regular shotted.
Regular shotted, okay.
No, I don't know. I mean, and sort of Robin has become this quintessential, the first Robin especially, sort of become this quintessential sidekick character.
Yeah.
And again, it led to every other superhero obtaining like a carbon copy teen sidekick.
Yes.
Although while Batman had Robin, Aquaman had Aqualad, who was just the same.
The smaller, shorter.
Yeah, and Green Arrow had Speedy.
Yes.
Who's the same.
But red?
Red.
Yeah,
yes.
Terrific. This is all good stuff.
It's great stuff, right?
Yeah. Who did Superman have? A dog.
A dog. I was going to script out the super dog. Right?
Because Superman and Superboy, they're not a pair normally, are they?
Because they're the same guy.
They're the same. Well, but now it's kind of changed because Superman has a son that they've kept around, which I really like. So now they have like a definitive kind of, it's set in stone Superboy.
Yes,
which
that's
I
right,
really
yeah.
enjoy.
Uh-huh.
The other thing is, what I really like about Dick Grayson, one of my favorite Batman stories is Black Mirror. Not like the show Black Mirror.
Oh, come on.
A little bit because of spookiness. But he becomes Batman briefly for a time, and Batman's out of town doing whatever he's up to, looking for Lazarus pits or I don't know what he does when he goes overseas. He pretends he's going on a holiday, but he's looking for a Lazarus pit. He
goes to red light districts. Is what he does.
He does, yeah. But can you talk a bit about how Bruce Wayne didn't give the role of Batman to Dick Grayson during the Nightfall period, and he gave it to John Paul Valley.
Yes.
What was the reasoning behind that? Because Dick Grayson's your ideal candidate to take over as Batman. But do you remember why he picked Azrael? Did you think he'd be more effective? Would he not want Dick Grayson to get hurt?
I think it was that one. And I think it was like, but also I think he was like, look, you've established yourself in this separate identity. Did you know that
But wasn't he like upset that he wasn't even asked?
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure maybe
it was like he didn't want, don't smush your great hair down in that cowl. You know?
I'm sure there was an era, and maybe it's not that era. People will tell us where Batman doesn't give him the cowl. And he's just like, you're not even going to ask me? Like, I've been doing this for as long as you have.
Is it really a role you want though?
Yeah,
there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders.
But it's interesting because when he is his Batman, he's his own Batman. He doesn't ape Bruce Wayne. He does it his own way. And also, some criminals recognize that it's not him.
Yes,
it's not
that's
the original. Because the Joker immediately is like, you're not the real Batman. You're a different Batman. Yeah. So that's really interesting.
There's also, a lot of people, because Robin has been around for 80 years, especially the Dick Grayson Robin, the question that was often asked was, well, why isn't Robin,
Robin Banks?
No, why isn't he like 90 years old at this point?
Sure. Why isn't any of them 90 years old?
Well, that's true. And DC's solution was to say that there were two Earths.
Yeah.
So on one Earth, on the first Earth, which we'll call Earth 2, for confusion's sake, we'll call it Earth 2. All the heroes started fighting crime in the 40s.
Yes.
And they have aged sort of fairly normally.
Magnificently.
And on the second Earth, which we'll call Earth 1, the heroes started fighting crime in the modern era. And
they have aged magnificently.
That's right. And we started with the idea is that in the 40s we initially saw them on Earth 2.
Yeah.
And then at some indeterminate point we switched over. So now we're looking at the modern day versions of the heroes. And so on Earth 2 the heroes aged magnificently obviously, but they moved on with their life. So Bruce Wayne got married to Selena Kyle, Catwoman, and they had a daughter, Helena Wayne, who became the Huntress.
Yep.
And Superman married Lois Lane and had a kid, and etc. So at a certain point in like the 70s and 80s, there were two timelines. So if you wanted to see like superheroes in the prime of their life, you could read an Earth 1 storyline. But if you wanted to see superheroes retire and move on, because that's the exciting part,
cool,
you read Earth 2. But in Earth 2, Robin never moved on from being Robin.
Yeah, he kept it up, right?
He stayed Robin. He updated the suit. Have you seen it?
I have, yeah. I don't mind it.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly good.
Yeah. So is he still around? Where is he now?
No, they're all dead.
Yeah, because they mashed them all together,
That universe
right?
was annihilated.
Yeah.
They all died sad and
some
alone.
got
Are you
out,
aware?
though. Didn't some get out,
A very small number of them got out, but most of them don't go back, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Most of the DC's parallel universes were annihilated in 1985's Crisis on Infinite Earths, and most of the issues end with a bunch of characters realizing that their Earth is being annihilated and they're going to die. And they're all like, boy, this is sad, isn't it? And they're just gone.
That is sad.
And they've never come back.
But they're okay, right?
No, they're dead.
Do you think there's room to bring that back because everything is always brought back forever? Or do you think we're so far past that no one's going to bring that back?
I think they've all come back in snippets and bits and pieces. Right. And there's always a scene in one of those comics where somebody like sees through time and
the
space
Flash
and
is running through or whatever.
Exactly. And it's like, all those other characters, and they're having a great time. They're having a little tea party. They're certainly not depressed because their universe is being annihilated. But yeah, good times.
That's great times.
Thank you, yes.
Well, we've talked a lot about Dick Grayson. Do you want to talk about the second Robin?
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like this kind of opened the door for Robins forever because there was one Robin for 40 years.
Yes.
And then there's been 100 since.
That's true, yeah. We can't get enough of switching out the Robins.
Well, there's some good Robins in here.
Yeah.
So Jason Todd, we've talked about this recently.
Well, of course, Jason Todd, as distinct from Dick Grayson, he started as a circus acrobat with his parents who were like a high wire acrobat act.
He couldn't do the triple somersault, but he could do the quadruple somersault.
That's right,
yeah.
Which is even more impressive and cool, and he had a bad boy attitude about it. But then the circus owed money to a mob boss. In this case, it was Two-Face.
Yes.
Who was like, well, I'm going to teach this circus a lesson, and he cut the high wire.
Or was it Croc in some versions, maybe?
Probably Croc in some versions.
Yeah, sure.
And then the parents were killed, but Jason Todd lived, and of course Batman took him in and became Batman's ward and also became Robin. And he was just exactly the same as Dick Grayson, and nobody ever had any complaints.
But
that sucked. And so what happened is during the Crisis on Infinite Earths, while
Yes.
all the universes were destroyed and everybody died in despair, they were like, let's maybe change some stuff because, I mean, realistically, what are the odds? What are the odds? I mean, they're like Batman certainly has a type, doesn't he? Acquiring weird circus orphans.
Yeah.
I'd start to wonder, honestly, if Batman were arranging all these things.
Yeah,
You know?
you definitely, especially if you were one of them, and you'd be
Yeah.
like, so the last guy was the what now? What do you mean? Yeah.
And you'd be like, so my parents were just accountants, and then a wealthy benefactor offered them $1 million to become weird high wire circus acts. Is that? And then I started doing that. Is that? Did you do that? Is that? I don't like what's happened here.
No, absolutely not.
But anyway, so the people like we don't like what happened here.
Yeah.
And so they during the Crisis on Infinite Earths they rebuilt reality essentially.
Yes.
So to make things easier for writers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so the first thing they did was say, okay, let's say Jason Todd has a different origin because that would make more sense.
Street
Do you know
boy.
what happened? Do you know what happened to pre-Crisis Jason Todd?
He's dead. They smushed him into something.
Correct, absolutely right. Died in sadness and despair. I think he was crushed under a building. I'm not sure.
Terrific.
Yeah. I mean, he learned he was alone and his universe was being destroyed. And
you know
then
what?
he was crushed into powder.
But sometimes, though, like you'll see the Flash running through time and space.
Yep.
And you'll just see a panel and it's just him still stuck under that building.
That's right.
He's like, oh,
I'm alive. I'm really hungry. It's been decades.
Yeah.
So instead, they were like, okay, let's say that this kid is an orphan street tough.
Yeah.
And Batman catches him stealing the wheels off the Batmobile.
That's right. The coolest Batmobile there is. So some kind of Lamborghini or whatever, right?
That's right.
Cool. So, but of course, Jason Todd is most famous for, well, it used to be, I don't know if that's the case now.
Being disliked?
Being
Famously
disliked. Well, I think the perception was that people didn't like him, but was he really hated that much?
It seems to me that, yes.
Yeah.
I think it seems to me that from what I've read recently about it, it seems to be that it was one of the first cases of fan backlash because it was a new thing.
Yeah, right.
And it was similar but not the same, and people didn't like it.
Yeah.
They didn't like his can't-do attitude. Because you know how Dick
my
Grayson
goodness.
had that can-do attitude?
He did, he certainly did, yeah.
Well, Jason Todd had a no-thank-you attitude.
Yeah.
And he was kind of always...
Did he also dye his hair?
According to the modern continuity, Bruce Wayne made him dye his hair.
Yeah, what?
Because he has red hair.
Oh, is that for like, so he's not a target? Is that the idea?
No, I think it's because so he'd look like regular Robin.
That's weird.
Pretty weird, right?
Don't do that.
And again, he arranged his parents' death.
Yeah, we figured that out, didn't we? Too?
We've cracked the case here.
Yeah, but if you look at the poll, because there was a poll when the Joker beat him to death. No, sorry, that was a crowbar. But there was a poll afterwards to determine whether or not he should die.
Yes.
And it's 5,343 to 5,271, the people who
small
voted.
margin, yeah.
So, judging by that, it's half people were okay with him and wanted him to go on. Yeah. So, with his death, though...
Although the rumor was, one of the editors of DC at the time, he heard a rumor that someone had set their computer to dial that number automatically, like every 90 seconds for 8 hours or something like that.
Yeah, right.
That know
right.
the death of Jason Todd number.
I still feel like they were going to do it anyway.
Right.
I know there is that panel that was recently revealed where he's like, he's alive. He's actually alive. And because that's what they're the other option. But I feel like they would have sold more.
Yeah.
They knew that by doing this.
You
I have
think
no way to prove that.
So it was just a shameless cash grab on behalf of DC Comics and also the telephone company.
That's right.
Wow.
Big T.
Wow.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that's how that went. But I think, though, ultimately this was a good thing because, for one, they killed him for a really long time.
That is true.
Which I really appreciated. And then, of course, he was brought back in a really interesting way. And often when characters are brought back, not very interesting at all. But I think this is one of the better ones. It's like this, and there's Bucky, and there's probably another one where it's also interesting. But
no, they're the only two interesting
It's kind of expected, though, that characters come back. So when they do, it's like, who cares? I mean, recently, Damian Wayne was killed, and then he was back, and we'll talk about it.
And then one of the additional 100 Robins.
Yeah, which honestly, I don't actually have a problem with, but I just think this was handled really well, because it was decades later under the Red Hood. Spoiler alert, I guess. There's also a terrific animated movie where this villain rolls into town, he's wearing a red hood, he doesn't like the Joker much because the Joker beat him to death.
Oh, yeah.
And it's revealed in the movie that he was brought back through the Lazarus pit, and he's kind of lost his mind and slowly regained it, but he still hates Batman, obviously. But in the comic, Superboy punched reality so hard he came back to life?
That is correct, yes. That is.
Why didn't they put that in the movie?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because it's dumb.
It is dumb.
Yeah, so Superboy Prime, not the Superboy that is Superman's son currently, nor the Superboy that was the clone of Superman, nor the Superboy that was Superman when he was a boy.
Nor Superboy from the TV show.
Superboy, no, not that Superboy either. Nor Tom Welling, the actor who played.
Nor Superboy, B-O-I.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But a Superboy from a reality in which all DC superheroes were fictional comic book characters. But then it turned out he actually was from the planet Krypton and he had all Superman's powers.
And he loved it.
Anyway, he was spared the depressing destruction of the universe.
Yeah.
In the Crisis on Infinite Earths, but he was trapped in a pocket dimension. And in attempting to escape that pocket dimension, he punched the walls of reality so hard that Jason Todd came back to life.
But just Jason Todd? Did he rattle any other cages?
I think he rattled a couple of other cages, but who's to say?
But that's the one that counts, I guess.
Yeah, for
Where's he now?
A lot of other people, imagine a lot of just normal people just were like, oh my God, I'm alive again. And people were like, who cares?
Shut up.
But you're my wife. I don't care.
I'm remarried, obviously.
Yeah.
I killed you.
You sucked. I'm going to have to kill you again. No.
Oh, no.
I would read that story.
Definitely. So what happened to that Superboy,
John Smith, the guy who sucks. He is a villain now.
Okay.
And he appears intermittently throughout the DC universe.
To threaten realities?
Yes.
He's one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so now he's a good guy again. He's like leader of the Outlaws. He's done that. He probably rides a motorbike sometimes, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got cool guns sometimes.
He does have cool guns. I feel like... And he exists in that space where Batman seems to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And the idea that he's probably machine gunned a bunch of people to death.
Sure. Well, he has to be, doesn't he?
Does he?
Because Batman also kills people often.
I guess that's probably true.
If not directly, indirectly. Yeah.
And also, Batman's probably got like a tally in his head of like, well, I did let him die.
Yeah.
So that's worth like 100.
I would say
100 dudes that he's killed.
Yeah.
So when he hits 101, I'm going to be like, Jason, settle down.
I'm going to have to kill you again if you want another 100. Yeah. But I think he's also...
Batman, you're not even my real dad.
I think it shows the difference between him and Dick Grayson eventually that they figured out that they grew into completely different vigilantes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really interesting. It just shows that they're not the same. Like they took the time to just not make him... It's Nightwing too.
Yeah, exactly right, yeah.
So I think it would be interesting though, like if you did have them swap roles at some point and what does a Nightwing Red Hood look like? There's no reason they would. Why would they?
I'm making the shuffly fingers dollar.
But is that
dollar motion?
Do you think that people would? Yeah, you still.
I'm still doing it. Yeah.
But do you think that's a thing that people would be impressed by like, what if Red Hood was Nightwing? Like nobody's.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you know, I want to. This isn't a in continuity one anymore, like most of these things. But I want to bring it up because there's a line about Jason Todd in it that we didn't know the fate of. It's from The Dark Knight Strikes Again. Back for real. He's back.
That's right,
Dark Knight Returns.
Sure.
So Carrie Kelley is introduced in that. She's a self-made Robin who helps Bruce Wayne, even though
this is in the future.
It's in the future.
A potential future of the DC universe.
And there's a line in that where they ask about Jason, and he says Jason was a good soldier or something along those lines. Yeah. And it's like, what the fuck does that mean? You're like, what happened to him? Because he wasn't dead at that point.
That's true.
Well, they haven't even decided what they were going to do with him.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know whether he has turned up in that reality as of yet. Dick Grayson turned up as a weird shape-changing Joker monster in the sequel book.
That's true, he did, yeah.
Yeah, and Batman's young again. But I always liked Carrie Kelley. I think she's a really good Robin.
And great frames.
Great frames. She's also back in the third book because there are 3 graphic novels of this where it's just like Bruce Wayne is young again, whatever. It's just, that's what they ended up doing there. The third one is better than the second one. But it's neither is obviously as good as the first. So what's the fourth
one going to be like is ultimately the question.
Well, they reckon that might be the one that Frank Miller does entirely by himself.
Oh, I cannot wait.
Cannot wait either for that never to come out.
Yeah. But I mean, Jason Todd certainly had his kind of, you know, you're right. They did try their best to make him as distinct from the previous Robin as possible, which I enjoyed a lot. And also, it was implied in a bunch of stories, or at least a few, that he did murder some people.
Cool.
Like even back in the day.
Back in the day, you're right, yeah. Like he would just go off on his own and...
push somebody off a roof or something.
Kill some dudes. Yeah. There've been some trouble with Robins with that before. Carrie Kelley...
Swat him with a nuspaper is what I say.
Little spray. Don't. Carrie Kelley also became some kind of Catwoman in the sequel.
I remember that, yeah.
But I don't know, I can't remember what she was in the third one. Doesn't really matter. But she's a good character. Tim Drake Where you at?
That's my personal favourite Robin.
Because of the stick?
Yeah, because of the stick.
I mean, some of the other ones have sticks also, but
also long pants, no
Finally.
shorts. I mean, we haven't really talked about Robin's tight little feathered green shorts because they're feathered or scaled. Yeah. Maybe they're scale mail shorts.
Scale
it's tough to
say, like a good
really.
Idea, does it? Yeah. What's the thinking?
I mean, he wasn't the first because obviously the Earth 2 Robin had long pants.
Yeah,
obviously.
I mean, we all know that.
And the version of Jason Todd, the initial version of Jason Todd, also had long pants and a ridiculous costume. Far and away the worst costume.
Yeah.
And then later they're like, just give him the old Robin costume.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
Yeah. But I think...
So the original Jason Todd costume, did you say?
It's ridiculous.
I need to Google that while you're talking.
Just have a little gander. But Tim Drake was, I think, an attempt to kind of course correct.
He's a middle ground, right?
Well, he's a middle ground, and obviously he was an acrobat in a circus with his parents, the Flying Drakes. No, that's not actually true. But he's like, I think the...
Is this it?
Yes.
Bad.
One of the worst.
Yeah.
Look at his little Harlequin collar. It's
terrible.
Ridiculous. Anyway.
And then he does this, right?
That's a Tim Drake Robin.
Yeah. Oh, that's Tim Drake? Okay, cool.
See, that's the primo costume. Look at that
good
costume.
One. That is it. And it's got the one yellow...
It's got
flipped up.
Yeah, it's black. It's got a black cape on the outside and a yellow cape on the inside.
See his abs through it?
Exactly right.
That's cool.
But Tim Drake was an attempt by DC to course correct because he was a fan of Batman essentially, which I think that was a means of being like
he likes Batman. How do you like Batman?
Readers, he's just like you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So basically, what happens is when he was a kid, he went to the circus.
Yes.
And he saw the Flying Graysons.
Saw them die, right?
He saw them die.
Yeah.
He was in the audience at the time, and he saw them perform. And obviously, Dick Grayson's the only person in the world who can perform a standing triple somersault or whatever it is. But then many years later, he saw some footage on television of Robin, Dick Grayson Robin, and saw him do that, and he joined the dots, and he's like, well, that must be Dick Grayson, and therefore Bruce Wayne is Batman. And then when Jason Todd died, he's like, well, maybe Batman needs a friend or possibly a new Robin. And it's like, and so he introduced himself.
Batman doesn't need a friend, he needs someone to boss around.
That's right.
That's what he needs. Yeah.
And punch the people he needs punched.
Yes.
That he is slightly too far out of reach to punch. That's what Batman requires.
You're absolutely right.
And so I think they brought him in kind of on that basis of like,
you
know, I'm just like you, dear reader,
kind
of thing.
So he becomes Red Robin, but now he was, because of the New 52 retcon, he was always Red Robin.
That's correct,
right? But I don't know where that's at now, though.
Right. Well, so he's still Red Robin.
Okay.
So
but does that mean he wasn't Robin?
It seems that way, yes.
Okay, right.
Yes, which is a little disappointing for me because this Robin was kind of the most...
Do you think this is because you were reading a lot of comics at this age, though?
I mean, probably, but also but just in terms of publishing wise, this was the first Robin to have his own solo series.
Yeah.
Like he was enough of a character to just sort of go out on his own. He had his own ongoing monthly comic book, where none of the other previous Robins did.
Yeah. And
he had his own his own thing going on, you know?
Hot stuff.
The hottest of stuff.
But he's still kind of tied to Batman more than like Dick Grayson and Red Hood, right? He's still
physically tied to Batman sometimes. Obviously, he'll be over a Shark Tank or something like that.
He's on a leash. He can punch the people that Batman can't quite reach. Yeah. Uh-huh. So your favourite though because costume alone, or is it the characterization and the stick?
And he's the second world's greatest detective probably after Batman.
Yeah, that's what I think is really interesting about him because he's the one, because like I said earlier, they've all got like a thing. Mm-hmm. Jason Todd's like a street tough. Dick Grayson's an amazing acrobat.
Kelly Carey's got those great frames.
Great frames, exactly. But the fact that his particular skill is that he's an excellent detective, I think that's really an interesting kind of take to put on. Not to be like he's just another acrobat for no reason.
Exactly.
Yeah, but also
he could be better at punching.
Yeah, but he's also another acrobat for no reason. Also, I just want to point that out. But
they
all are, aren't they?
Well, I mean, we don't even think about all the Robins who are probably like mashed up in one of the Riddler's deadly traps or something like that.
Goodness,
if you're not a great acrobat,
yeah,
just add to the pile. You know what I mean?
Chuck it on there, mate.
Terrible Robins.
Absolutely.
We don't even see those.
Yeah. Should we talk about Young Justice a little bit? A TV show that I haven't watched that people always tell us to watch.
No.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Robins in that. Tim Drake's in it, and I was going to say Foggy Nelson. That's not true. Dick Grayson's in it. Yeah, there's a bunch of younger characters in it that I really got to get around to watching. Mm-hmm. And they got another season, which was really cool because people love that show. So, Stephanie Brown.
Oh, yes. Okay, go for it.
Briefly replaced, briefly stepped in as a Robin, but then died but then spoiler alert, she didn't really die.
Oh, speaking of spoilers,
exactly.
Because she was introduced initially. There is a very lame sort of Z-list villain called the Clue Master. He's best known to me as being one of the members of Justice League Antarctica. There was
a joke?
No, well, yeah, it was a joke.
I mean, obviously,
there was a one shot in like 1990 or something. I'm sure I still have it somewhere where a bunch of
what are they, razzing penguins? What are they up to?
Well, they were literally killer penguins.
Of course.
There was back in the day.
That's not even original in this universe.
Back in the day. The Justice League, a lot of the Justice League comics were comedy books.
Yeah, right.
Because they were all lame C and D list characters, and so there was a one shot called Justice League Antarctica where a bunch of somewhat reformed villains were put together to guard Antarctica.
Yeah.
And one of them was the Clue Master, who again he's like the Riddler, only not as good.
Wow, that's really saying something.
Right? But he had a daughter named Stephanie Brown.
Yeah.
And because she learned he was the Clue Master and didn't approve of this dumb lifestyle he was leading, so she created a vigilante identity called the Spoiler to spoil his plans.
Yeah.
And then she came across Robin, and they had a the Tim Drake Robin, and they kind of had a romantic thing. And then when Tim Drake gave up the role of Robin, she took over for a while, and then she was killed.
Yeah, but not really, I think.
No, that's true. Yes, because no one ever really dies. Again, if you're exactly
ever really
not in
does.
comics, certainly.
Yeah. So yeah, good character, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know anything about her.
She then became Batgirl.
Yes.
Briefly after that, and then she was replaced by the original Batgirl who came back.
Terrific. Right. Just people replacing people. That's what it's about, isn't it? It's like the workforce in many ways, isn't it?
Is it?
I don't know. Damien Wayne.
Yes.
Lunatic Robin.
Correct, yes.
He's just a fucking lunatic.
The illegitimate child of Bruce Wayne.
I think it's a legitimate child.
Well, I'm just saying out of wedlock.
Okay.
Sorry,
right.
I'm using outdated language.
You certainly
the
are.
The bastard son.
Of Talia al Ghul
and Bruce Wayne. Yes.
So, which is why he's crazy. Yeah, and he was raised by...
He was raised without Bruce Wayne's knowledge in the League of Shadows, the team of the clan of assassins.
He often be having swords?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's killed some people.
Yeah. So he's obviously, there's a lot of Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul influence on him because that's his grandfather. Was it a trick? Did they planned it out to get the seed of Bruce Wayne to create this ultimate kid? Wasn't that the idea?
I don't want to think about it, to be honest.
I think there was like, because he's always trying to get Bruce Wayne on board. You know, it's like, Bruce Wayne, join the League of Shadows.
They should have just read that Batman Damned comic.
Absolutely.
You know?
Damn. His dick is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
So, Damien recently was Bruce Wayne taught him not to kill a bunch of people, right?
Don't kill any more people.
Yeah.
I've already got one guy who's always off killing people. I don't know what he's doing.
So, Damien, though, was killed by Heretic, which is an adult Damien clone. Mm-hmm. And then using the Chaos Shard.
Don't know what that is.
It was together with some Darkseid stuff on Apocalypse. He was brought back.
Oh, yes.
And then Darkseid's son stepped through to kind of beat up everybody in the Batcave. But it turned out that Damian Wayne was superpowered.
Oh, yes.
And just pummeled him. And then the idea was like, what are we going to do with this? This Batman's kid now has superpowers. That changes the whole dynamic and whatever. And then they faded away. And now he doesn't.
Okay, cool.
He doesn't have them anymore.
That's comic books, isn't it?
But I like Damian Wayne as well. It's not my favorite, but
no. But I think they've given him enough time. I feel like if they'd maybe a year or two in, they'd put up another of those 1-800 numbers.
Yes.
Would you like Damian Wayne to live or die? I think maybe the general audience would have said, you know what, die.
Yeah,
but he's sort of grown into his own.
Yes.
I found him irritating.
Super Sons, obviously.
Yeah, I found him irritating up until maybe the Super Sons, in which he teams up with Superman's son.
Yeah, and they have a very different kind of dynamic, which is not dissimilar from the Superman-Batman kind of dynamic either.
One's got superpowers and one's lame.
One's nice, one's Batman. So, Yeah. Also, isn't there a future where Damian Wayne is Batman?
Yeah.
That we've never reached, or
but he's clearly sold his soul to the devil or something because he has weird demonic powers and he can't be killed.
Yeah.
There was a limited series called The Kingdom.
Yeah.
I guess many years after they eliminated all the parallel universes in Crisis on Infinite Earths, they're like, hey, let's make things way more complicated and bring them all back, but in a different way. And they did it in a miniseries called The Kingdom. Yeah. And in which we see a future version of Damian Wayne as Batman.
There was also rumors that one of the Arkham games were going to pick up in the future with a Damian Wayne. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that was an idea for
I see.
Because if you see how those games end, there's kind of some things that they can't do anymore. So, and I think Damian Wayne exists in that universe. Or does he? I have no idea.
I have no memory of him.
There are other Robins in it because there's a moment when Tim Drake appears and he's got the stick and the shaved head. Yes. I'm like, oh my goodness. Yes. And maybe he plays him in DLC stuff?
You do, yeah.
Okay, there you go. Terrific. Yes, terrific stuff. Also, Damian Wayne, I feel like is always, of all the Robins, he's the one who's destined to become Batman and just be Batman. And not do another weird variation on it, except for the demon thing. It's, for example, in Deceased recently, for various reasons, which I will not spoil here, he ends up becoming Batman.
Oh.
So, yeah. So I think eventually, the way that we see Superman's son will become the next Superman. I think eventually that's the way this is probably going to go.
Unless he grows up kind of short. In which case, probably not. Can't do it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
All right. It's always interesting that the Robins stay like 5'8".
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Until they are of adult age, at which point they all become 6'2".
But not as big as Bruce Wayne. They're always leaner.
Yeah,
they cannot be that big. Yeah. So there you go. Do you want to talk about some other versions though while we're bloody here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Earth 2, Robin, you mentioned stayed as Robin. The Toy Wonder is from DC 1 Million.
Oh, yes.
He's a robot or something. I don't know what to say. He's got a robot sidekick.
Yep.
That feels apt for DC 1 Million, right?
Yeah, that was one of the dumbest series ever made, but I loved it. I loved it so much. It was really...
Did you really?
Yeah, it's great.
Cool, yeah. Is that the one where Superman can't get into the the fortress thing? We've talked about it, yeah. Boyd the Robin Wonder.
Don't know what that is.
I've written it down.
I think you've made that up.
No, I went through a list. So the Injustice universe.
Oh, yes.
Damian Wayne kills Dick Grayson, and Dick Grayson becomes Deadman. The new Dead Man or whatever. He's like ghostly apparition.
He kills him by accident.
He does. I can't remember how, but hits him in the neck with a stick, maybe.
Yeah, or he falls over and breaks his neck.
Yeah, one of those things.
Or trips in the street.
He
just thinks of Damian Wayne and then he gets hit by a bus.
Exactly.
It's unrelated.
You got any others though?
No.
Okay, well, mentioned Michael Cera. They got Teen Titans Go, the animated series, Young Justice. All of those are mentioned. Chris O'Donnell, and of course we're going full circle. Let's bring it back to John Blake.
Of course,
or as he's known, some people call him Robert, I think. It's his birth name or whatever.
It raises many questions. It's fascinating.
Do we want to talk about... People might have forgotten this or not know this.
And I would talk about this endlessly. I would talk about
John
Blake.
I just mean a bit of background.
Okay, right. Sure, go ahead. Yeah. So in The Dark Knight Rises, we're introduced to John Blake, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he's just a beat cop in Gotham City.
Yes.
But he was an orphan just like Batman. And so he figures out who Batman is because they're both orphans or something.
Yeah.
He's got some sort of water divining ability, but for orphans because he's also an orphan.
He looked into his eyes and
he saw,
whatever.
Sure, right,
Yeah. And there's no indication that he is any kind of Robin throughout the movie. He doesn't put on a costume. He does shoot someone at one point to death, but then he's like, I don't like guns, and he puts them down.
Right. I mean, after this shooting I've just done.
Yeah. And then at the end, despite having no acrobatic ability whatsoever, he can't even do a single somersault.
Wow.
Batman just gives him all of his shit and goes, good luck.
Yeah, because of the orphan
madness,
code.
Absolute madness. That dude... I think we've mentioned this before. First shot, he'd swing into the side of the building and just explode. Just a big bag of blood. That guy's not ready.
Right?
At all.
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe he'll be a different...
Stay in the car. Right. Say fight crime from in the car.
But it just seems to be an odd...
I like those movies.
I like them as well for the most part. It's just interesting that...
It's fan service, right?
It's fan service, but it sort of fascinates me that they didn't go... I just wonder what... I wish I was there for the production meeting or the on-set in that last scene because he goes to receive a will or something like that. He goes to some sort of office and he has to get some paperwork.
Yeah.
And he says there's some paperwork for John Blake. She says the secretary says there's nothing for John Blake.
Yeah.
And he says maybe it's under my legal name. She says, oh, it's Robin.
Yeah.
But
Robin's real name isn't Robin.
Right. And if
so he's going to fight crime under his real name.
His legal name. That's organized crime will never figure this out. They'll be after me, John Blake. But they'll never look in a phone book.
My understanding is that he would
There aren't any phone books.
No. My understanding is that he'd just be a vigilante. But he hasn't done any of that.
Or he'll be Batman.
Yeah, exactly. But he hasn't done any of that weird mountain training. Right? He hasn't sniffed a weird herb and had a real weird
blow
bat
up a clan
hallucination.
full of ninjas. He didn't do any of that. But I guess my question is, did they say, was the line originally, oh, it's under my original name, oh, Dick Grayson or something. And then somebody, a producer somewhere along the line said, nobody's going to know who Dick Grayson is. Yeah. People who have gone through people who have seen these movies and love them and then have gone off on a deep dive about these and read the comics or whatever, they won't understand that. And they won't understand the cultural touchstone that is Dick Grayson, a Robin that's been in every Batman incarnation for the last 80 years.
That doesn't matter. I think by the end of the movie, everybody's still there. They're in the movie, watching the movie.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll be like, what was that about?
Yeah. And then they'll Google it.
Yeah. What they should have done, this is what they should have done. He goes in there and they go, oh my God, your name's Dick Grayson. What a beautiful name. You should keep the name Dick Grayson. I don't know what this John Blake shit's going on. And then he goes into the Batcave and then he's got the little feathery briefs.
Yes, that's right.
And then everybody who doesn't know who Robin is makes the connection.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. And he's like, do I have to wear these? And it's a condition of the will.
Yeah,
it's like if you're taking over,
swore an oath.
Stay in the car and put these on.
That's right. You can have my $1 billion, but you have to wear these briefs. You can wear additional stuff as part of the costume, but if you don't.
Yeah, terrific stuff. So that's, well, not all the Robins, I was going to say, it's not, but that's kind of a brief-ish history of what they had going on, isn't it?
Yes.
And didn't they have a lot going on?
They had so much going on. Look, here's an honorary mention. If you've never seen this, there's a one-shot from many years ago called Thrill Killer, which is sort of a Batman reboot set in the early 60s.
Look at that.
It's very... it was written by Howard Chaykin and drawn by Dan Brereton, and it's very odd.
Okay.
But it's...
He's wearing a Letterman jacket?
Yes, yeah.
Cool.
It's a real...
Which Robin is he?
Real groovy take. It's Dick Grayson.
Great.
Yeah, no problem.
He looks more like a Jason Todd kind
Well,
of
he's
dude.
not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to... I don't know what I was thinking just then when I said that. There was also the Robin 80th Anniversary 100-page Spectacular, which is already out, which I have not read as of yet, or it's not out yet.
Cool, man.
Yeah. Have you read it?
No.
The reviews are looking good. So there you go. I'm going to check that out. But it's got that... I don't know if you've seen the imagery from that, but it's very Dark Knight-esque. It's got that Dark Knight Robin jump that we all know and love.
Oh, yes.
Or the Batman jump, I should say.
Uh-huh.
So,
yeah, I get it.
Go.
Yeah, nice.
All right. And that's been whatever this is, isn't it? Hasn't
That's
it been
right.
that?
Absolutely, it's been that. A real deep dive. The deepest dive you'll ever find on the character of Robin.
We splooshed into the water and we've finally come up for air, haven't we?
No, I'm still down there. I'm drowning.
Oh, well, I'll see you later then.
I'm drowning in great content is what's happening.
All right, ready for the next segment?
Yes.
Well, you know what it is though, don't you?
Oh, that's what we're reading.
What we going to read?
That's right.